Hey everybody, Thomas Joseph here with another kitchen conundrum. Now, I'm sure you've seen these in the supermarket or maybe at the farmer's market and you've thought, what the heck do I do with these vegetables? How do I even cook them? Well, today I'm going to demystify some autumnal vegetables and give you really great suggestions on how you could cook them. And today I'm going to start off with a celery root, which is what I have in my hand here. Celery root is not the same plant as the celery stalks. It's within the same family, but it's slightly different. And now it is a root vegetable, so peel it first. You can, of course, use one of these hand peelers to peel away the skin, but it is quite thick, and there are these little craters and bumps. It's kind of like a pineapple, I would say. So it's almost best to treat it like that and to use a knife, which makes it much easier and faster. So if you cut off the bottom and the top, and then you kind of glide your knife down around the sides, what you do is you trim away all of that skin. What I'm going to show you today is a celery root puree. Cut this into 1-inch cubes. And cutting into even pieces ensures that the celery root is cooked evenly. So cut the celery root into planks and then cut them into sticks and then cubes from there. And now I have a pot of water here set over a burner. This is cold water, so it's very much the same way you would do mashed potatoes. Season them up with a little bit of salt, and now you're gonna bring this to a boil. You're going to reduce to a simmer and cover and simmer for about 20 to 25 minutes until the celery root is nice and tender. So the celery root, it's super tender. Drain and puree it. So I'm using a food processor here today to puree the celery root. Now, with something like a potato or sweet potato, something that has more starch, you should never use a food processor or a blender. But celery root is actually very low in starch, so it won't get gluey or gummy. Now to this add 1 cup of milk and 3 tablespoons of butter melted together. And I'm gonna process this until it's a fine puree. So now just give it a little bit of salt and pepper. Process this together. And you could certainly pass this through a fine sieve to get a silky smooth puree. And then next up, I have the kohlrabi. Kohlrabi is a member of the cruciferous family, and cruciferous vegetables are broccoli, cauliflower, collard greens. Start off by trimming away the leaves. Now, you don't want to discard the leaves because we're going to do something with them later, but I'm going to first tackle the bulb of the kohlrabi. You can cook it, or you can also eat it raw. So today I'm going to show you a kohlrabi and green apple slaw. Now, if you're trying to figure out what the texture and the taste of kohlrabi is, it's very similar to broccoli stems. Now, I'm just gently trimming away the tough skin on the outside. If you have big kohlrabi, these are kind of, I would say, medium-sized kohlrabi, but what you should do is you should split the bulb in half and see if there's a tough core, which kind of around this area, it's a little bit more fibrous and tough and chewy. So what you can do is you can trim this out. Now what I'm gonna do, cut the kohlrabi into thin planks, I would say about 1/4 inch thickness, and then simply glide through cutting little matchsticks, and they go right into a bowl. So you could also roast kohlrabi, you can throw it into soups and stews, you could steam it, you can boil it and then mash it. It's really, really one of those great versatile vegetables. So I have about 3 bulbs of kohlrabi here that I've cut up into matchsticks, and add 1 green apple to that. A tart, sweet apple like a Granny Smith is really great. It has the same texture, but it has a different flavor. And then a little bit of salt and pepper, a lemon, and then olive oil. So there you have it, a super simple kohlrabi slaw. Now, those greens that we have from the top of the kohlrabi, do not throw those away because you can use them just like you would collard greens. Give them a chop and saute in a little bit of olive oil. You could use some garlic here. You could put in some onion, chili flakes, season it up with some salt and pepper, and you have a really simple saute of kohlrabi greens. Now, you can serve the kohlrabi greens just like this as a simple side. Two ways to use kohlrabi, the greens and the bulb. And now next, I'm gonna show you what you can do with a kabocha squash. And this is a kabocha squash. It is used widely in Asia, particularly in Korea and also Japan. And when you pick out a kabocha squash, when you see it at the supermarket, the farmer's market, you wanna make sure that it seems heavy for the size. And you wanna look for this dark green color. It has almost a dull finish to it. There are some varietals of kabocha squash that are orange in color on the outside, but the most common I would say is green. When I cut into this, you're gonna actually get to see the color of the flesh, and that is a bright orange color. So I'm just gonna cut right through the middle, use a heavy-duty knife here. The flavor of kabocha squash, it's very similar to like if you crossed a sweet potato and a pumpkin together. It has a slightly spongy texture. You can see the color, it looks really beautiful. It has this mustardy orange color. Kabocha squash is really great if you steam it. You can throw it into soups. You could roast it like I'm going to do today, but I'm gonna scrape out the seeds, cut these into 1-inch wedges. Have your oven preheated to 450 degrees because you wanna roast at a high temperature. And these will take anywhere from 25 to 35 minutes, depending on how large your squash is. And a little bit of olive oil, drizzle that over the top, season with salt and pepper. You could certainly use your favorite spice blend here. You could throw in some herbs if you'd like, some woodsy herbs like thyme would be really great. Sage would be really nice, especially this time of year. And I just I like to toss the squash right on the sheet tray, coating both sides with oil and salt and pepper. It's always best to give them a good flip halfway through so that both sides get evenly cooked. So into the oven. So the kabocha squash is out of the oven. You can see that it changes in color. It gets a really rich orange color. So there you go. So next time you see kabocha squash, kohlrabi, or celery root in the marketplace, don't be intimidated or fearful and pick them up and try some of these really great recipes. I'm sure you're going to enjoy them.